Those are very strong words from the House Intelligence Committee chairman. And now I'm joined by three members of Congress who are going to get a classified briefing from members of the Obama administration in a couple of hours. And they come at this from a very different point of view. Before we go to them, let's go to our chief congressional correspondent, Dana Bash. Okay, we don't have Dana Bash, but we're going to go right to those members of Congress. So joining me now is Representative Eliot Engel, a New York Democrat, and he is the ranking on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Representative Scott Rigell, we have also with us, who's been pushing President Obama to make his case to Congress. He has about 140 signatures on a letter asking for that, which the president now intends to do. And from Seattle, Washington, we have Congressman Adam Smith. He's the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, and he just returned from the Syrian border. Let me start with you, Congressman Smith. Is there anything that you have heard from the president so far and from the Secretary of State, John Kerry, this morning that has convinced you to change your mind? I know you were very skeptical about this mission and whether it could succeed.
Well, I'm skeptical about whether or not the use of U.S. military force in this case will accomplish the very legitimate goal. I think what Mike Rogers said about the proliferation of WMD and how awful it is what Assad has done is absolutely accurate. I think the international community needs to rally and try and stop this. The question is whether or not the burden can fall simply on U.S. military. We don't have a UN resolution. We don't have the Arab League. We don't have a substantial, support from the international community right now to move forward with military action. So I don't question at all the awfulness of the situation or the need to hold Assad accountable. It's a matter of how you do that and whether or not military action really will accomplish that goal.
And I would have to say that if the president were looking for key allies, you'd be one of them, given your position in the House. And let me turn to Eliot Engel, who's another ranking member in the House, important to the president, and you have a different point of view.
Well, I think absolutely the president is correct. I think that we cannot allow Assad or anyone else to gas his own people and get away with it. You know, I was the author of the 2003 Syrian Accountability Act, and I've been watching Syria for a long, long time. This is a brutal dictator of a brutal regime. I think there's no question that sarin gas was used, and it's a war crime. And the question is, can we afford to sit idly by and just allow this to happen? And if we do, every despot in the world, every dictator in the world, every terrorist group in the world will feel free to use it because there's no repercussions.
Congressman Rigell?
Well, my views are more closely aligned with Ranking Member Smith on this. The president laid out three objectives. He said we want to hold the regime accountable. I agree with that. Also to deter future use of chemical weapons, and then to degrade the ability of the Assad regime to do this again. Now, my question is, one of them is, if after this limited strike, will the Assad regime still be in place? Will he still be there with a military, with chemical weapons? If that's the definition of success, I question
that. So you're just saying a slap on the wrist. I want to play with you the president's now infamous, one of his statements about this so-called red line, which is giving so many people so much trouble. Let's listen to that and we'll talk about it.
We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus. That would change my equation.
So, Congressman Smith, let me go to you with this. Did the president back himself into a corner on this that he can't get out of, so he's coming to Congress to help him out here?
Well, I mean, he stated a policy. He didn't back himself into a corner if he believes in that policy. And he's followed through on it. But look, I mean, the difficulty is, and I very sympathetic to what Eliot had to say about wanting to hold these folks accountable, but you can look at what happened in Iraq. Saddam Hussein did the same thing. Back, post-1991, he used chemical weapons against his own people, and, it took a while, but eventually we did hold him accountable. We moved him at an enormous cost. We've seen what's happened with the Iraq War, and the interesting thing is if this is going to send a signal to dictators that you can't do that, well, here we are, not too many years later, and Assad is using chemical weapons.
Well, what's your response to that? Congressman Engel. Let me let the congressman respond to that.
Well, my response to that would be those pictures, those horrific pictures of those children foaming at the mouth and gasping for breath. I mean, my God, we're the United States of America, and we have to stand for something. If we're not going to stand up to a thug like Assad and say we are not going to let you gas your own people and commit war crimes, then who are we as a nation? I think that we need to stand up and clearly say that this is unacceptable. Now, we can argue about whether there should be a minimal strike or a maximum strike or whatever it is, but I cannot countenance the fact of sitting there and doing nothing while people are being gassed and the war crimes are being committed.
So, Congressman Rigell, do you think Congress will be able to agree on anything on this? I mean, I'm listening to three of you. You've got different points of view here. Two of you are in the same party.
Yes. Party does not have anything to do with this. I really believe that. Maybe that's American idealism coming out of me, but I've not heard one member of my Republican conference mention anything about partisanship here. This is the most sobering decision that the president is rightly bringing to Congress. This was the only constitutionally correct decision, in my view.
Okay, and let me just go around the table here, and I'll start with you, Congressman Smith. If you had to vote today, how would you vote?
I don't have to vote today, so we're going to have the debate in the next week or so, and I'm going to give the president the chance to make his case. You know, I think the arguments are compelling. It's just very, very difficult. There are a lot of awful humanitarian crises throughout the world. You know, it's hard to say when the U.S. is in a position to step in and fix it.
Okay, so I'm going to count you. I'm going to count you skeptical. How about you, Congressman?
If I had to walk over to the Capitol right now, I'd pull out my voting card and vote no. But I am very much looking forward to the debate. This needs to happen, and we'll all learn from it.
And you? I think I can guess.
Well, I would vote yes because the whole world is watching, and so is Iran.
Okay, thanks to all of you. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning. And other lawmakers are complaining